Okay, so this is a book I'm working on for my Eileen Hall design team post this month, and it's an organizer. And this is where I've gotten so far. I'll give you a walkthrough, but one of the things I wanted to do is show you how to lace these books, because I do get a lot of comments on people asking, how do you lace them? There's different ways to lace the books. Even, so for example, sorry, my clean scrapbook room. I laced this one. This is the same type of lacing I'm going to be doing. Another way to lace them is to have the elastic running up and down. For example, here's another book. You can, make them like this so that the elastic, or the thread, in this case it was thread, runs along the spine, or you can do an invisible one where you don't see the lines. And there's many different reasons for that. Like sometimes you don't always want beads on the outside, or in this case I had a lot going on. I just decided I wanted to, change it up a bit. So let's get to how do we do it. This is a bit of a unique one, because for this book, while I have the ability to put 3 signatures in, I only want to put 2, and there's a couple of reasons for it. And let me explain how I made this. This book was made using the passport die spine. So here's the passport die. This is how big it is. You get an idea. It's not a really big book, but it has a great spine. And so all I did was I cut out my spine and I cut it in half. And I put half of my spine here and half here. And that enables me to use whatever size mat board I want to make my book. And that was the thing. I wanted an odd size. Eileen's dies didn't work with the size that I wanted. And the reason is I want to put these books in here, and I needed a bigger book in order to make that happen. So I will have more on this one. But for right now, we're going to do the lacing. Okay, so I wanted a secret spine. Again, I don't want my threads to show. I've got an elastic here. It's colored. I colored it with dilution sprays and let it dry. And I'm just going to show you a way to make this hidden spine. So basically, I'm going to start going, well, either way, it's easier if I start going from the inside out. And I'm just going to leave a tail. And I'm going to show you 2 ways to do this. So if you want all of the spine, or if you just want the 2 like I'm doing. So all you do then is come out down the bottom. Of course, I immediately lose my spine, or my thread. Usually, so you just hold it. Come out the bottom, and then I just go over to the nearest hole. Okay, from the outside back in. And basically what that does, that gives me this little loop. So I'm going to the next hole, then I'm going to go to the corresponding hole at the top. And it is a little tricky to do with one hand. Another hot tip you can do is you can take the tail. This is what I like to do sometimes. And just use a clip. And that'll hold the tail. Now I don't have to worry about it. I can use both my hands to thread. So I'm going to come through the middle. Now keep in mind, this you won't be able to see because it'll be on the inside of my book. And then I'm just going to simply go over to the next hole, the last hole. Okay, so I'm just threading from top to bottom. Okay, so I'm going to have a gap right now. We're going to fix that at the end. And then I come down through the middle again. There we go. Sorry. This has some foil in the circle. All right. Now I've ended up with, I have my tail here, and I have a gap. So I'm just going to go back through this same hole again. And it's a little trickier because I already have an elastic. I use 1mm elastic is my favorite because it is a little thinner, but it's still strong. And that way I don't have a problem threading too. So now here I have an option. I've got my tail. I can bring it back through the middle as well. Okay, so here's my tail. So I can either create a fourth book, or a fourth elastic for a book, just by creating knot. Or if I only want 3, I can simply tie this off at the top of the middle one, and the same with this. So I would just tie a knot at the bottom and at the top. And now I've got my book for 3. Why would that matter? Well, in this case, I have an open spine. And the big thing is I really only have room for 2 books, and you'll see why in a bit. But because I only have room for 2 books, I really only want 2 elastics. And it might be the case for your book, you only want 3. In that case, you can just tie a knot here, tie a knot there. So what I'm going to do, so that's one way to do it. And that's basically how you do the invisible spine. And you see, here you go. You just have this little elastic up here. I only want 2 for my book today. And because my books are thicker, there's a lot more pages. They're going to be used as organizers for my dies. So I'm going to follow sort of the same idea, but with a twist. Because I only want 2, what'll end up happening is I'll have a gap here. So what I'm going to do is do the same thing. Oh, sorry. Bang the video. I'm going to leave a little bit longer though. I'm going to clip that to make it easy. I'm going to go through. So I'm on the first hole, top and bottom. And then when I come through here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a bead. So I have this charm that I used in the middle of my spine here. I'm just going to take another one. This is another reason why I like the 1mm thread, is you have the ability to put charms. That's one of the challenges. A lot of the elastics are too thick and you end up not being able to put beads and charms, and I love using beads and charms, so the 1mm elastic's a little thinner. This is just a Pringles cup container. I like recycling. That helps. So there. So see, now I've solved the problem of having, you know, it looking wonky up there. And then all I have to do, I'm going to skip the middle hole because I only want 2 books. Okay, and then I'm going to come through. This is the top. Let's try not to spin it around. There's my tail of my other. Have another charm. Nope. It's tricky to do this because I'm literally looking through my viewfinder. So that's why there's a bit of a pause while I thread things. Okay, and so now what I can do is I'm actually going to pull this one out. I'm going to go through. Okay, now I'm coming inside, and what I'm going to do is just, this is going to have a knot. But first I want to make sure my threads are, like first I have a lot of extra because I was showing you how to do it. So I'm going to pull this through. So as far as tautness goes, to me it's a sound. Like I can tell that that's probably going to fit. And one of the things you can do to check, again, is I can clip this first, because the issue I'm going to have with this book is that my book is a lot bigger than the holes. If you look at the journal book, the holes are very close to the bottom. And there's only, you know, a little bit, maybe half an inch at the most. This is further up. So I have to make sure that my book can slide underneath. This is just one of those inexpensive photo albums that I've used. And I have to be able to make sure that my elastic is not too tight, that it, you know, too loose or too tight. Like, to me, that's a little bit loose because this is going to flop around. So that's what's nice about doing it like this. I can get a really good idea. And again, I kind of go by what the sound is. You get to the point where you just kind of know what it's going to sound like and whether or not it's going to work. So I find my middle again. Slide this one through. You see how this one kind of, they're not tight enough. They're pulling away from the book. So I do want to tighten that up a bit. So then all I'm going to do, now that I have both my books there, I have a much better idea of how tight they're going to be. I can just hold it, tighten these up, pull on it to get an idea. So what I don't want is I want it to sit nicely in the middle, but to be able to slide in and out. And all that means is you just kind of have to fiddle with it to get an idea. I should be able to slide that in and out if I need to. So I think we're good. So then I'm just going to tie a knot. And then I still can undo it if I feel like it's not good enough. But see, that holds the books nicely in place. So I think we're good. And now, bonus, I have this cute charms instead of, you know, having a knot or having a gap. So I really like the look of that. I've never done one that way. Oops. So there you go. That is how to string your journal. I hope that helps. I hope you get to have a nice inky day. More on my blog on how I actually made this. I'll put the link below. Have a great day.